Today on Inspired Money.
What I liked about working in a bank is making, a decent amount of money. What I didn't like is that you're in an environment that pushes you to spend more and more and more and more, especially in a trading desk. It's so mentally competitive. You're trying to outpace everybody else. People are buying, bigger cars, bigger watches, better everything. And it's shallow. I felt it was shallow.
This is episode 152 with executive coach and entrepreneur, Michael Trefel. Welcome to Inspired Money. My name is Andy Wong, a managing partner at Runnymede Capital Management. Each week, we bring you an interesting person to help you get inspired, shift your perspectives on money, and achieve incredible things. From making it to giving it away, Inspired Money means making a difference, creating something bigger than oneself, and maybe, just maybe, making the world a better place. Thank you for joining me. Hey, Inspired Moneymaker. Welcome back. If this is your first time listening, welcome. We've got a great guest who brings many different perspectives on money. Mike Trefel left his high-paying Wall Street job to be an executive coach and entrepreneur. I also want you to know that he's a successful real estate investor, but we're not really going to get into that today. In this episode, you'll learn how your mindset can impact what you see. This includes everything from who your friends are to big business opportunities, gratitude practices that can help improve your mindset, and why teaching and helping others can bring more fulfillment to your life. Now let's get inspired with Mike Trefel. Mike, welcome to Inspired Money. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thanks. I'm very excited to be here.
Let's jump right in. What's your earliest childhood memory of money?
I actually grew up in Russia when I was little. And this was a lot of scarcity. So my earliest memory of money is not really having as much as one would need or want.
Were you born in Russia, and how long were you there?
I was born in Russia and spent 10 years there. So I came here as a kid.
Oh, so you have memories. You remember.
I do remember. I remember. And at the time, this was long lines to get into stores and all kinds of things, scarcity, not just money, but scarcity of products, food and everything else, country overall.
What was it like moving from Russia to the United States? Like, what differences did you see?
Interesting. It's a cool topic, but it's my first memory. So when we were traveling through, it was a whole system. We go through multiple countries before we got here, and it was official process and everything else. But I remember going from, a store that has nothing except for, a couple of little things of food, and then going to a supermarket, and the American supermarket has everything. And it was just mind blowing of just how much of it is there and the excess of it, which is cool. And I wasn't thinking about it as in excess, but it was more like, wow, there's everything that you need here. This is amazing.
Yeah, when you said excess, I was thinking about supersizing. I mean, often that's like what people's eyes like bug out because they come from Europe or they come from Russia or China, and they come here and they're like, my goodness, look at the size of the soda that people drink.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of that as a kid. I was just thinking of how much stuff there is there. You come from not having to having whatever you want. It's incredible, but it sets the wrong precedent of money. You come from scarcity, and it takes a long time to get through that.
You mean it's a total change of mindset?
Yeah,
because 10 years of your life is foundational.
Right. And it affects, from parents are affecting. And right. So it's always you're always trying to save for the rainy day as opposed to investing in everything else. Right. The growth factor takes a long time to really, focus on it and understand.
Do you remember growing up after you moved here, being like immigrant family, newly arrived? Was it all about just saving? Were your parents working? What kind of jobs were they working?
The earliest one, I'm trying to remember what we were doing. When we just got here, we had a community to go to and everything else. And my mom was a designer, so she got a job pretty quickly. She was a fashion designer. My dad worked odd jobs, and he was fairly entrepreneurial in his mindset just not in his money mindset, right? So he was always trying to create things and create some businesses and stuff, but it was always from a monetary standpoint, which is what I see a lot with clients now. You're looking at things, you want to invent something and create a business, but you're scared about money. So you're going forward and you're pulling back at the same time.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have a little sister, so she's about 10 years younger than I. But, I worked. It was funny. I always worked. Like my only memory, like I was 12, I was working.
What were you doing at 12?
You're doing odd jobs. You're helping out. I was doing, was working in, I think at 14, I already got a job and I was busboying and different sales and odd jobs because nobody's going to hire a kid to do anything important. Right. So, but whatever I could get my hands on, I did a dishwasher job. I did some other things but I always worked.
You were never afraid of work.
I never, I like working. And to me, that's the mentality that my parents instilled in me, that hard work is important. And kind of that was drilled into you, right? Work. Hard work is important. That's how you get ahead. That's how you survive. That's how you move forward. We just never take it, a step farther. And that's how you thrive. It was always the survival mode.
You took a pretty conventional path that people would say from the outside is a successful one. You went into banking. You were working at Lehman Brothers. How did you decide to go into banking?
You're talking about conventional paths, right? So in my community with friends and parents and everything else, those three paths, right? Those, you're going into accounting, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer. That was it. That was the mindset of what everybody's pushed through school. And I think in a lot of communities, that's the way it works, right? So I started in thinking about pre-med, hated it, not my thing. But I always liked finance. And I actually, in high school, my senior year in high school, I got a job in a boiler room, stock trading, which was back then, they were still there and it was fun. I liked the market. I liked playing the market. I was trading futures at 19 and really enjoyed it. So I actually, once I got into college, I got a job in Goldman on the operations side, and then worked for Goldman for a couple of years and then shifted over to a small independent house that did commodity trading based on charts and quant. And then off of that, I shifted into Lehman and spent 12 years on a trading desk. I was a chief strategist for fixed income and foreign exchange for Lehman.
What did you like about that job and what did you dislike?
So initially it was exciting. I was traveling a lot. My clients were like central banks. I have clients, Central Bank of Greece, Central Bank of England, which was kind of cool at the time. But so I like the excitement and the energy around, being on a trading desk with 1,000 people. Lehman had a huge desk. The challenge, though, was that it wasn't fulfilling, right? You're going in after money. When you're going in a conventional way, you're working. I always joke about, you would say 9 to 5. I don't remember ever working 9 to 5 because my hours at Lehman, for example, I started work at 6 and I, ended around 6 or 7 in the evening because we're global. So, you're working long hours. You don't really get to build anything outside of that. You go to the gym, you have lunch, you come home, you go to sleep. I was newly married. I really wanted to spend more time with my wife. I wanted to travel more and kind of enjoy it. And, the banking life changed a lot, I think, in 08, 09, because now everybody has 4 weeks vacation. You get pushed in vacation. When I was working in the 2000s, you take vacation, everybody looks down on you. You can come back and not have a job anymore, right? Because it's so competitive. So you work, and it's really hard. You're making money, you make a name for yourself. My team was number 3 in the All-American Institutional Investor Survey.
It looked like for multiple years from what I saw.
For multiple years. And one day, I finished my MBA at NYU. And then as I was finishing that, I was more and more thinking about entrepreneurship and getting out of the system. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, really liked that concept as opposed to, the traditional schooling and working and banking. And I made a crazy decision. I came home one day and said, listen, honey, I'm done. Let's do something else. And, my wife was incredibly supportive. So she said, fine, I get it. I understand. I see what you're going through. Let's do something else. What do you want to do?
Did you know what you wanted to do?
You know what? I liked real estate a lot. I was thinking about flipping and investing. I really didn't know about multifamily and syndication investing at the time, but I liked real estate. So I said, well, how about I'll be an agent and build a team. So I quit and left a very, very high paying job to the detriment of my parents who were just going nuts. I left and went into real estate.
To what extent does your parents going nuts factor into your decision-making process?
None. None. If they're going to listen to this, I'm sorry, but no, none. I realized long ago that we have to build our own path, right? So whatever that may be. And that was it. That was the decision, we made as a family and changed. And you know what? I never really looked back. You shift from a high paying position that has security or actually believes security, right? Because look what happened 6 months later.
Exactly. You left before the ship sank.
I did. And it was interesting because for 150 years, they've never had a losing quarter, right? So the company was doing outrageously well. And then within 6 months, they were gone and lots of people lost their jobs. So there really isn't the security that a lot of people grew up thinking about.
Well, you kind of did forge your own path at the start, too, because you didn't become a doctor, an accountant, or a lawyer. You went into banking. So at that time, your parents probably still thought you were crazy.
Probably. But listen, isn't that what kids supposed to do, right?
That's your job.
That's my job.
So after you struck out on your own, you quit cold turkey. You left the lucrative banking job to go the riskier route, I guess, less stable route. But then the world came crashing in. You must have still had some contact with your former coworkers who suddenly, I remember the image of watching TV and people were leaving Lehman's building with a box with their stuff. How did you feel at that point? Because you weren't there for that, but the whole world was unraveling.
Yeah. Well, I still had a lot of portfolio and things wrapped into it. So, we still had the effect. And, I joke about Lehman now. It's much easier to think about. At the time it was challenging. It was a lot of stress. Now, as a Easter egg type of thing, if you ever watch Despicable Me, when he goes into the Bank of Evil, if you have a pause on it, it says Bank of Evil underneath. It says formerly Lehman Brothers. So that's actually in the cartoon, which was funny, so it was stressful. But to me, I was forging a new path. So at that time I was reading a lot, learning a lot, growing, and I shifted my mindset, which is what I'm bringing to people right now, is to how to overcome and actually think of a positive way through stress. We're living through another kind of crisis right now, but one of my mentors mentioned a really great thing. So in Chinese, right, the symbol for crisis is the same as opportunity. And if you have that mentality, that helps. At the time, I wasn't putting two and two together the same way as I do now, but I was forging a new path. So I was looking forward to growing and figuring out how to create something great while this is going on. Sort of being the captain of my own ship. And I started in real estate when the real estate market pretty much crashed.
Is that good or bad?
I think it's great. It's the same thing with the stock market crashes, right? If you're starting your career or you live through one crash and survive and thrive through it, you can see the opportunities in the crash. You can see the opportunities that are happening while there's chaos. And in real estate, the same thing. What happened a lot of times when people start in the great years, they don't have to work as hard and they make money. They're not necessarily ultra successful, but they're rising with the ships, right? They're rising with the tide. And when anything changes and the environment changes, they don't know how to survive that. And you see that in every industry, right? When the times are great and you go, yeah, I'm going to go into that industry and it's going to be amazing. And you spend a couple of years in the run up to any bubble, it's fantastic. People are investing in the stock market into the bubble and they go, yeah, for a couple of months, everything is going up. And then when things come crushing down, Warren Buffett has a quote that you got to be fearful when everybody's greedy and greedy when everybody's fearful.
Yeah, I interviewed Ryan Serhant, who entered the real estate, business in New York around that time too. And he talks about the successful realtors, the agents who they were making money during the good times. Suddenly, when the market crashes, they have to adjust. And some of them have a hard time adjusting. He had just entered the business and he's like, he didn't know any better. He was just hustling. He would go to Starbucks and go up to pregnant women saying, do you need more space? What did your hustle look like just getting started?
So I love that, you talk to him and he's saying, you don't know any better. I didn't know any better. To me, this was the market. So you figure out innovative ways. We built a website before website became cool. We started marketing more on that. I had good contacts still from banking and then people were moving. I like building relationships. What I got early on is any sales position is not really about sales, right? And I think what a lot of people miss, whether you're doing direct marketing, real estate, or anything else, it's all about relationships that you build. You can sell products, you can sell businesses, you can sell consulting, but at the end of the day, it's all about relationships, right? People buy you before they buy what you're selling. And especially now where people just don't like to be sold. They want to buy, but they don't want to be sold to. So it's all about building this relationship. And that's how I started. I broke into the kind of new construction and builders by going in the morning with a box of donuts and Dunkin' Donut coffee. And I would go from construction site to construction site to construction site, just meeting people. All right. And then you meet the foreman or you meet the construction guys. They introduce you to the foreman. The foreman introduces you to the builder and goes, listen, Mike was here. He's feeding us donuts and coffee. He's good. It seems like he knows what he's doing. And now you're building a relationship. And once you're building a relationship, my point was, well, how can I help you? Right. So if the builder, what do you need? Do you need new properties? Do you need marketing? How can I help you? And off of that, I built a pretty good portfolio and then build a team around that portfolio to service it.
That skill for building relationships, the strategies, is that something innate in you that you always had, or is that something you learned?
Learned, absolutely. I was a lone wolf mentality when I was working on Wall Street. It wasn't about strategies because it was all competitive, right? It was very much not team building, right? Because you're on the trading desk, you're competing with the person next to you. And even as a strategist, you're competing with other strategists and trying to outpace everybody. You have some collaboration, but it's not really innate and built into it. So I had to learn that and to understand through books, through learning, through kind of watching people who came before me.
Do you feel like Lehman was the bank of evil? Did your priorities change after you left?
Yeah, 100%. Well, my life changed completely. I don't want to talk bad about banking in general, but I think the whole environment shifted now with people doing stuff outside of just work and making money. What I liked about working in a bank is making, a decent amount of money. What I didn't like is that you're in an environment that pushes you to spend more and more and more and more, especially in a trading desk. It's so mentally competitive. You're trying to outpace everybody else. People are buying, bigger cars, bigger watches, better everything. And it's shallow. I felt it was shallow.
Let me ask it this way. How did you change as a person today compared to back then?
You know what? Today, I'm a lot more about people, working with people and building relationships and helping other people find success. I found a Zig Ziglar quote that I absolutely love is that you can achieve anything in life if you help enough people achieve what they want. That mentality is incredibly fulfilling, right? I can still work just as long and just as many hours, but because you're working on something that you really enjoy, it's now passion, it's not stress. And because I'm helping people and there's tangible results, there's great fulfillment and there's great give back into the community and into the relationships that you build around yourself.
What does that process look like? Because I hear the word shallow and competitive when you were on the trading desk. And today you're talking about relationships. You're talking about doing things that are more meaningful. It sounds like doing things with more depth.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, what I realized that when you're building relationships and if you think about business overall, right? Any business, real estate, but I coach people in other industries as well. You have to think about that pie, that market as vast, right? And we're not competing for the slice of the pie. If we're working together, we can increase that pie dramatically. That makes a huge difference, right? Because when I was growing up, and that scarcity mindset created the environment that I'm competing for the little slice. So I have to win and outperform other people. Now, the only person I'm competing with is me. Like, I want to be better today than I was yesterday. It's a mindset shift. And if you're thinking about it that way, you no longer feel compelled to overspend or show off, because it's not important anymore, right? What you want to do is grow. I want to read more. I want to surround myself with better people. I want to build better relationships and contribute. And when you do that, you outpour that knowledge. I mean, you learn so much better when you teach others, right? What I'm learning, and I want to give back and teach. Like, I have classes, I have financial class that I teach for kids. It's called Quantum Leap. It's derived from Gary Keller, for example, but it teaches, it's geared towards teenagers. And the way I got into it, I have an 8-year-old who's very, very bright. I have 2 kids. I have a 5-year-old and 8-year-old. They're both super, super bright. And my 8-year-old, I'm starting to bring up into the financial sense. So we're playing the cash flow quadrant, for example. And I got certified and teach this class so I can bring it to her and her friends in our community. So I'm teaching it to the kids of my community. And it's all about how to build collaborative teams, plan better, understand how to focus on your time, on your wealth building and things of that nature, because it's not taught in school. To me, that's so much more fulfilling than anything I was doing before.
Coming up, we talk about seeing more opportunities, living in gratitude, and seeing money in a different way. All that and more right after this short break. The show notes for this episode can be found at inspiredmoney.fm/152. If you're listening in your car or wherever you are, check the show notes if you want to learn more about Mike, his business, and all other things mentioned in this episode. It's time for the Runnymede Money Tip of the Week. I love that Mike is talking about the importance of having the right mindset. I want to talk about the money mindset and remind you of 3 important things. Number 1, be mindful about the long term. When it comes to money, it's easy to focus on how can I make a quick buck? This makes sense because we need money to pay bills that are going to be due at the end of the month. In this thinking, when evaluating an opportunity, the initial thought is, what's in it for me? Instead, try reorienting your thinking to how can you add as much value as possible to someone else first. Think about building credits with someone or some organization over the long term. You may never need to use your credits, but if you do, help will be returned in abundance. Don't let short-term greed get you to lose sight of long-term wealth. Another example of this is comparing $1 spent today versus what it could grow into in the future. Do I need that new pair of sneakers right now? Or am I better off keeping that in my savings and investing it just a little longer? With aggressive savings, as long as you're investing it, it could be worth significantly more 10 years from today. 2, you deserve to be wealthy. Money is out there for everyone. I love what Mike said about seeing the market as vast. I want you to start believing that you deserve to be rich. You'll change your actions to make it happen in bigger ways. Wherever you are right now, your mindset can always be less like, why me? And more, why not me too? Armed with this belief, you'll do better. 3, always seek more synergy and leverage. This is what Mike talked about with the pie. You're not competing for a slice of the pie. If working together with the right people, you can actually increase the size of the pie. Always strive to surround yourself with better people. But more importantly, as you build better relationships, think about how can I do something together with this person where we both benefit. So Inspired Moneymaker, we really like the idea that small changes can make a big impact. I think that these 3 thoughts fall into this category. They're the type of things that you can write on a sticky sheet and look at every morning. They're simple shifts. Give them a try and let me know how you make out. That's the Runnymede Money Tip of the Week. Inspired Money is brought to you by Runnymede Capital Management. We help you to plan, invest, and worry less. Our Inspired Moneymaker of the Week comes from Apple Podcasts. Jay Barshop writes, authentic and informative. I appreciate the variety of episodes, the super practical takeaways, and Andy's sincere humility. It's obvious that he only brings on guests that are authentic and truly care about being a positive force in this world. Thanks for putting out such an amazing show, Andy. Keep up the great work. Jay Barshop, if you're listening, go to inspiredmoney.fm/Andy and please send me an email. I appreciate you taking the time to write a review at Apple Podcasts. I'd love to mail you a copy of Chemo West CD and an Inspired Money sticker. So Inspired Moneymaker, if you're liking today's episode, take a screenshot of this episode on your smartphone. What's a mindset change that you made that's helped you? I'd love to hear about it. Share it on social media, tag me. I'm inspiredmoney.fm on Instagram, Runnymede Cap at Twitter, that's RUNNYMEDECAP. Use the hashtag InspiredMoney. If you want to say it quietly, email me at inspiredmoney.fm/Andy. I'd love to give you a shout out here on the podcast. I look forward to hearing from you. You're listening to Inspired Money. I'm Andy Wong. It's powerful, the mindset shift from competing for one slice of the pie versus seeing the world in a different way where it's really encouraging collaboration.
Yeah.
And helping. And I don't know, does that abundance mindset versus scarcity, do you find that you see opportunities that you would not have seen otherwise?
100%. 100%. You know what happens? I'm very big on energies and frequencies, right? And I had a mentor who was talking about if you think about success as a frequency and your mindset as a tuner. So if you tune your mind into that frequency, now you're seeing opportunity everywhere. And it's scientifically proven as well, right? Our brain gets so much stimulus and information from outside. But we have, it's a system, it's RAS, right? It's a reticular activation system in the brain. And, on an easy way to kind of give you a visual for it, when you decide to buy a car and you decide on that red BMW, for example, and you drive it off the lot, all of a sudden you're going to see red BMWs everywhere. You didn't think about it before, but now because your brain thinks this is important, it starts picking that out anywhere outside. What I find is that no matter what you do in life, if you focus on something, right? What you focus on expands. Tony Robbins talks about that's where energy flows, right? Where you focus, energy flows and life kind of follows. And what I find and what I coach on and teach right now is whatever you want to focus on, it'll expand. So if you're focusing on opportunities and you're telling your mind, that you're open to receive and certain, financial growth is important for you, all of a sudden you're going to see deals happening. You're going to see people pop up in your life that you were ignoring before. Your mind wasn't picking up. We're only able to focus on about 150 data points. And we get about 4,000, or I forgot what the numbers, but then thousands of data points coming at us. So we have to be very selective and intentional about what we focus on. And then, yeah, absolutely, you're going to see massive amount of opportunities come your way. So I'm an eternal optimist that way, because if you are optimistic and you're open and receiving, you're going to see opportunities come at you from every direction.
Give us an example in your life where you changed your mindset and suddenly saw a big opportunity.
One of the interesting decisions, I was taking a class with a mentor of mine on financial growth. And a lot of it is based on Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And we were discussing, second time I took it with him. The first time we just got introduced and I didn't take it seriously. And the second time I did, I started paying attention to what he was saying and did all the exercise that he taught. A lot of it had like profit first type of thing, and looking at opportunities, syndications, multifamilies. And I started reading more and more on that subject. I started following some people online on the subject. And then I was in a room and got introduced to people. Off of that, got another introduction, built relationships, and got involved with some amazing folks, including Eric, who put together the Podmax. Would never happen before.
So it's one thing leading to the next.
Yeah. And it's a scalable effect because I'm open to it. I want to do more. I want to meet more people, build more relationships. And I'm not a small talk kind of guy. right? I'm not the person who's going to go to the bar and chat somebody up. But if you and I are having a conversation and I get into it, I can talk for hours because I'm so passionate about the mindset and kind of attitude of the abundance. And it's fantastic. So, off of that, I was able to build a syndicating platform. We've built a great team. And I do invest in different deals and syndications and stuff.
You sound like a very busy guy.
Yeah, but it's the great thing about it. If you're doing something that you enjoy and love, you're not stressing about it and it doesn't feel like work.
I see that you became a member of the John Maxwell team. You already mentioned Tony Robbins. And I read at your website, Trefel Consulting, it says that you help sales professionals and entrepreneurs to 10x their business and find the balance between work and personal life so that they can live a fulfilling life, secure in themselves, their finances, and their relationships. I can't think of anyone on this earth who does not want those things. Where does one start?
Mindset. Absolutely with mindset. I think it all starts with challenging your limiting beliefs is a huge part of what I do, right? Because we put these things on ourselves that limit us. And a lot of it is internal conversation. I'm not good enough, or I can never do that, or I can't be like them. That's whole comparison to other people. And a lot of times what we do and what I find with clients is that they compare their chapter 1 to somebody's chapter 40 or 50, right? And we think, oh my God, I'm going to start, but I have to compete with somebody who's been doing this for 10 years. And how the hell do I do that? And what I've noticed in real estate, which is really funny, you got a lot of agents who are amazing at what they're starting to do, and they have the right energy and they have the right understanding of relationships, but they're afraid because they're comparing themselves to somebody who's been doing this for 20 years. The challenge is you might be amazing in year 1 and have the great experience, and somebody else who hasn't really adapted a growth mindset, they have 20 years of experience, but it's not 20-year growth. It's 20 years of kind of, or 40 years of 6 months experience, because they kind of switching and doing different things and they're not learning off of it. So once you get rid of that limitation and do your very best, all of a sudden it goes back to what you and I were talking about, the opportunities.
It seems like today, because of social media, that making that comparison is worse because it's easier to do. You're constantly looking at how many followers do I have compared to somebody else.
Yep.
In the past, you didn't have that metric where you could just see it on a daily basis. How do you stay on track? Is it a matter of having some tunnel vision and just doing your own thing and being happy about just making one step at a time, in that you keep moving forward? But even still, it seems like it's cyclical. Even as an individual, today I feel good, tomorrow I'm discouraged, and then it comes back. How do you stay on track?
Gratitude. You live in gratitude. It's not, we all talk about gratitude and being grateful and everything else, but there's a difference between kind of saying your gratitude and check mark it off of your list because you read it somewhere in the book that you have to be grateful, and you say you thank you one day, once a day, versus waking up and living into that environment. That's where mindset and attitude comes in, right? You wake up and there's a sun outside and you go, thank you for another day. It's raining. Great. The garden will grow. It's looking at the positives of things. And yes, there is a little bit of tunnel vision, but that gratitude opens you up to just better energy. And when you start your day with the right sort of ritual and process, and you start off on the right foot, you win your morning and you win your day, you're not as focused on any negativity, and you are forcing your mind to pick out the positive aspects of your day. Look at COVID. Look at everything that's going on right now. A lot of people wake up in a day and they turn on the news. There's nothing positive on the news. That positivity doesn't sell, right? So it's all negative fear, regardless of politics and everything else. It just news is fear. So that's the first thing they do in the morning. They turn on TV, go, oh my God, the world is coming to an end, Chicken Little type of thing, right? And that's where they're starting the day from. And everything is negative. So you talk about financials, right? Would I invest in something if that's what I'm starting my day was no. So I'm going to miss the opportunities for investing. And I'm negative to begin with. So it's harder to build relationships, right? It's harder to have conversations because I'm going to talk about, look what's going on and how horrible everything is and what have you. On the other side of that is waking up and being grateful for what you have. Like for me, my kids, for example, when they say their gratitude and we kind of build that, I have this whole process, we call it a rose, a thorn, and a sprout, right? So every day we go through as a family, what was, great about the day, what we could do better, and what ideas and learning opportunities we have. And it's been immensely helpful of just building our relationship and coming up with some ideas and planning and things like that. So when you're looking at the positives, what you have, so I mentioned my kids. My kids are basically saying gratitude that we're in quarantine because I'm home all day long and I'm spending a lot more time with them. So that's an amazingly positive thing that makes all of us happy as a family. And I've been seeing huge opportunities out there because of that. Even through this, and I just finished a 6-week training, training 200 executives from a direct sales company. And I'm teaching them the same thing. And what was amazing is once they're accepted the fact that you can't be in fear and you have to go in positive and look for opportunities, their business skyrocketed. One of the teams went up 30% year over year in 6 weeks. It's all about the mindset. To me, all behavior starts at mindset.
I love the rose, the thorn, and the sprout. I'm going to do that with my 3 kids. I also like gratitude because looking at everything through a lens of gratitude, suddenly I'm not looking at somebody else's followers. I'm just looking at mine and saying, I'm thankful for having 100 or whatever the number is. Whatever I have, I'm just grateful that I have those.
If you impact one, you're good.
Right. You start seeing the world with a different lens. You're not worried about how do I get to 500,000? How do I get to 1 million when I'm only at 100? Okay, so I love that you talk about the importance of mindset, the importance of gratitude. How do you see money differently using your money that you have from the time that you were in banking and today? Because your mind shift change has been immense.
I think about money in a different light, right? It's not about how much money do you have or I need to make more money. And it's all about money, 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 money. It's money is good for the good it can do. Right. So, for example, when I coach real estate, we can talk about how much commission do you want to make? And then people come out with that and have commission breath because they just it's all about, I need to get one more deal. You can shift that from a gratitude standpoint and talk about how many families can you help? The byproduct of that, you're going to make a lot more money. The mental fact of it is that I'm helping somebody. I'm building a family for somebody. I'm enabling somebody to find a great home, get a great neighborhood, move to a different property or sell something where they're in trouble. There's so much gratitude and joy in that type of work when you're thinking about it, as opposed to money, money, money. And the byproduct, like I said, you're making a lot more money, but you're more fulfilled about it, right? Because you're not focused on the monetary part of it. It's just a byproduct. You focus on the people. And when you focus on the people, everything gets better. I look at the same way when we're building syndication. How many people can we take along with us so they can have a better future and build wealth? Yes, we're all making money in the process, but that's not what I'm focusing on. What I'm focusing on is how many people can we develop and rise with us? When I'm coaching, it's the same thing.
It sounds like a pretty subtle change. It's a subtle difference, but the impact can be massive to the outcome. The outcome can change. Another byproduct, it sounds like with the fulfillment can be happiness.
A lot of people go, and I'm going to be happy when I make
X more dollars, whatever that is.
And when you get to that level, you get to that level and you go, yeah, I'm not really happy. Well, maybe I'll get happy when something, right? And you're always kicking it down the field. I'm happy now because I'm doing what I like, right? That's not tied into money or anything else. And yes, you get bad days and you get affected by things, but the way to get out of that is being curious and staying in gratitude. And when you can accomplish that, everything else just works better. You get into that flow, and in the flow, everything works better. We all been in states where like, oh my God, this was amazing day. Everything worked for me. And I was in this total flow. And the easiest and the fastest way to get there is to get your energy on the right frequency, right? So you're going in gratitude, you're going in the right attitude with it. Things work better when you do, and everybody kind of makes more money and builds better products and sells more, builds better financial health and wealth. You're right. It's a slight shift with huge outcome difference.
You've seen this in your life. You've seen it as a reality. What would the younger you have said? Would that have sounded very woo-woo? Would you have believed it when you were younger?
Yes. Yeah. 20 years ago, I would have laughed if somebody was talking to me this way. And probably I've come across some of these books and things and didn't pay attention because it didn't sound, the right way. Because if you're going in, through schooling and kind of conventional way, we weren't taught this. We weren't enabled to think about it this way. I think right now there's a lot more acceptance of being in this environment. They use the word woke, but it's now used for completely different purposes. And I don't want to use it, but you accept things in a different level. You understand that it's not all about strictly one aspect of life, right? Of making money or getting a bigger job or promoting or anything else. It's really more if you are finding joy in what you do, that everything works better and you get better at what you do. Whether you're in corporate or entrepreneurial, it really doesn't matter as long as you can shift how you look at things. And yeah, I wish I was this mindset 20 years ago. I think it would have accomplished a lot more and enjoyed it a lot more, have a lot less stress.
It's hard to have the experience and maturity with youth.
Yeah.
But maybe one of our listeners, if they're young, they can be put on the right track earlier and get a head start.
Yeah. And that's why I teach the class, for example, because if we can teach this to a younger generation, for them to even take part of understanding, to have the right mindset of self-accountability and responsibility and ability to grow and see gratitude in daily action, we can change the world. We really could. We can change the world for significantly better.
Michael, I like to ask all the Inspired Money guests, how do you define success?
For me, seeing other people grow and succeed and shift into the right mindset. And I think for me, that's the impact that I want to make and leave in the world and build this legacy of helping people be happier, be fulfilled, and being financially independent through the process as well.
Yes, inherently that includes helping people. So I can see why you went into consulting and coaching. And thank you for sharing your story about making a bigger impact and looking at money differently and making subtle changes that can really bring more gratitude, more happiness. And ultimately, what I love is the byproduct that brings you more money and success, even though that's not like your plan A, that's like the plan B. I like it that it's the byproduct, not the focus that you're just staring at.
Yeah, it becomes a byproduct of it. And in while you're doing that, you're building amazing relationships. You're learning more and you're meeting really great people. You get on podcasts like this and you get part of amazing groups and organizations that everybody grows together. My view is that together we kind of all grow better, right? If you surround yourself by the right people and everybody rises up, we're bigger than the sum of our parts individually.
It's very enriching. Can you tell the Inspired Money listener where they can follow you, find you, and learn more?
Yeah, you can learn more. My company is trefelconsulting.com. You can go on our site. And I have follow me, Michael Trefel, on Facebook, and I'm happy to connect. I don't really do Twitter or Instagram, but you can find me on LinkedIn or on Facebook, Michael Trefel.
Great. I'll put that in the show notes. Thanks so much, Michael.
Thanks, Andy. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
So what was your favorite Inspired Money moment? There was a lot that I liked about this episode. I enjoyed the advice to not focus on just one slice of the pie. I liked hearing the comparison of being a lone wolf versus working together with people, because working with the right people can actually increase the size of the pie or the market opportunity that you're working in. Ultimately, this requires more connections, better relationships, and that leads to collaboration. Okay, Inspired Moneymaker, before we part ways, if you liked this episode, take a screenshot of your podcast app on your smartphone Share the picture along with a mindset change that you made that's helped you. I'd love to hear about it. Share it on social media, tag me. I'm inspiredmoney.fm on Instagram or Runnymede on Twitter. That's RUNNYMEDECAP. Use the hashtag InspiredMoney. Or if you don't want to blast it out on social media, you can always email me at inspiredmoney.fm/Andy. I'd love to give you a shout out here on the podcast. And my way of saying thank you, I'll send you an Inspired Money sticker or button or both. Inspired Money is edited by Christopher Wright of Wright Media. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're not subscribed yet, I hope that you'll hit the subscribe button now to ensure that you won't miss next week's episode. I'll see you then. The music you're listening to right now and all other music on today's show is by the amazing Jim Kimo West. Have an inspired week and do something that scares you, because that's where the magic happens.